Today we're going to be doing my floating island that I taught on a canvas painting. Let's see if I can get this to go up straight here. And we're going to attempt this on a rock. And I'm going to let you follow along with me. I will tell you all the colors and the paintbrushes that you need. Basically right now you're going to need some water and some rags to dab off your paintbrush with, because you're going to want to keep them nice and clean. The next you're going to need is a rock that I've already primed white on both sides. It's optional, up to you. I use a cornstarch container for my water, and then I use my lid to go underneath my rock, so that way I can paint up underneath and let it dry a minute before I flip it over. So you're also going to want some paints, and today, as you can see, I've been dabbling. You're going to want some basic white and black, basic yellow. You're going to want a jack-o'-lantern orange, or you can create your own orange. It really doesn't matter. I also have an autumn orange and a bright red. These are just the colors that are on my palette. You can play with this with any kind of colors, pinks, purples, blues. You know, sky is kind of a sunset behind a moon. So whatever you want your sunset color. And then basic brushes, I'm going to use a number 1, which is just a very small brush. And I'm going to use, I think this is a number 5. These brushes are pretty old, so most of them don't have numbers on them. And I don't even know what number this is, but you're going to want one of the little flat brushes. It's basically just to paint your base color. And a pencil might be handy for if you're picky about the circle for the moon. And a stencil or something you want to use. You can also use like the bottom of your paint container or something for your moon shape. And I use an old brush that when they start to spread out and stuff, I'll cut them down and then I'll spread them out on my hand or on the surface somewhere and really get it spread out. And that makes it perfect for doing bushes and trees and such. And I do a variety of sizes. This is one of my small ones. I think this was like on a size 3 or a 5. I really can't read the numbers. But that's basically all you're going to want. So to get started, I will do my best to try to keep myself serious. I don't know if I'm too serious. But anyway, you're going to basically take your jack-o'-lantern orange, which is this one right here, and you're going to paint your base orange. And if you want, if your paint's a little on the dry side or something, just add a little water to it. Just make sure you dab it off on the rag so it doesn't run on your rock. Just basic. Doesn't matter what direction you're going or anything, you're just covering up that base color. And the reason I prime mine white at the beginning is because for bright colors, it keeps them bright. So if I'm using like a baby blue or a light orange or something to that point, I'm going to paint it white for my primer. You can do it on black, but it'll take multiple layers to get it to that bright color that you're wanting. Okay. So, we got the first colors on. Look, I'm already getting myself orange. And now I'm going to, little piece of dry paint. I have my air conditioning going, so everything's drying really fast. So after I do the basic orange, I go into my autumn orange, the little darker orange, and I'm just going to make a circle. I'm just going to use the same old brush. I'm going to start from the center and kind of make a swirly. And you don't have to do a swirly, you can just do circles. Alright, just kind of let it go in there. Doesn't matter really what direction it's going. We're just adding dimension. And then you can do that, and then you can come to the yellows. And you can add a little bit. This is just going to more or less highlight what you just did. I just kind of sporadically throw it around in that circle. Kind of keeping it a circle. Don't go side to side. Just keep it kind of in your circle base. or whatever design you've got going. Just like that. And I don't worry too much about the center because your moon's going to go there. It's pretty much going to cover all that. And then you can dab a little bit, and I do mean just a little because we're doing a red. Just very little at the tip. And do the same thing, just kind of wherever you want. We're still adding dimension. Everybody's is going to look different. And I usually use the red until I pretty much run out of it, because then you're still getting even just a lighter red. Spreading it out. If you want it super bright, then don't spread it out. Me, I want it to blend in just a little bit. I don't want it to overtake what I'm putting in here. There we go. I'm going to add a little red in here too. I'll keep it a little redder. The more you play with your paints that you have on here, the better it's going to look. Just going to look spread out. And then I go to the white. While this is still drying, you can keep going because we are still spreading. So go to a white and then go to your number 5 brush. Wet it down just a touch. Dab it off with your rag. I have this like little flute or something that's getting in my dish. And then sporadically again, I'm adding highlights, just lightly touching it with my brush, very lightly. As if you were trying to draw on something, but you wanted just very light touches. And just going back and forth with it. Wherever you want them. You don't have to worry too much about the center because this is where your moon's going to be. And you can always add more highlights later if you don't feel like it's enough. Or if you make too many, you can also go back with your other colors. That's the advantage of this. Alright, so then you're going to hit your center. And this is where you can use your pencil, or you can use the bottom of your paint container, or whatever you want. The basic circle you're going to want is just for a moon, which is going to be pretty much the center of your rock. It does not have to be perfect. I just kind of draw myself a little guideline with my paints. Kind of eyeball if that's where I want my circle. And then I just fill it in. Because we're still going to be putting your island and everything on here. So don't stress over it. I personally like to do this when the center is still wet. You could do it while it's dry. Your white will be brighter. But for me, I like the different colors that it puts in the moon. Just adds dimension to your moon, using those colors that are already there available to you. So just kind of filling it in. And I will put another layer, but I just like to add dimension. Okay. Yeah, I'll just keep swirling around until I get it where I like it. Now I'm going to let it dry a little bit, and then I'm just going to add more white. So I can get a nice smooth texture. So I'm just going to let it dry for just a minute. Now this is why I say it doesn't have to be perfect. So rinse your brush really well once you get your base of what you want as your moon. Leave the water on it, but I always rub my finger down here just so it doesn't run down the brush and drip on heavily. And I hit the edge of that moon with my water. So yeah, it's just making it nice and smooth. Okay, I'm just going to let this dry for a moment. Hopefully really quick, so we can move on to the next part of it. So we will be on intermission for a few seconds. So here on here, you will see that the moon is just basically behind a tree in an island. And that's basically what we're going to get started with, is the island in just a moment, after I add just a touch more white to my moon. We're fanning, we're fanning. This is my blow dryer. Who wants to turn on a blow dryer right now? It is hot. Not me. Fanning, 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 fanning. Okay. This is where some music or some background noise would be nice. I think that's good enough. All right. So I'm just going to touch my brush in white again. And I'm going to add more white, still going in that cornery direction. Let's circle it, circle it. Alrighty. And of course we need to let this dry just a little bit so our black doesn't go gray. We're going to be using the black next. But while it's drying, you can kind of look around. If you're wanting more highlights or anything like that, you could just be playing with that. Me, I'm going to add a little bit, maybe up here, maybe in here. Kind of keep it in a circle. Add a little water just to not overbear it with the white. There we go. Maybe a touch in there. Alright, and another thing you can do too, and this is optional for everyone, is I'll put quite a bit of water on my brush. Dip it in pretty good. Dip it into your white. Get it up here. Get a little water to it. I mean, you want to have paint in it, but start tapping. That's just going to add more to your painting. I didn't do this on my canvas painting, but I think it looks pretty cool that way. Just add a little spots to it, just by simply tapping your brush. As you can see, we have lots of dimension going, so once we do this island, that's really going to pop. I wish there was a pop button on here. I wouldn't make you sit and wait. Let's get it going. Okay, I'm about to call it good and see if we can add to the black now. Itchiness. Okay. So dip your brush, get it clean. I like to make sure on the gold part down here that there is no water, because that is going to drip everywhere. You're going to mess up your painting. So dip it into your black, and we're just tracing our island. You're going to come down here, not at the very bottom, but just above the bottom of that moon. And come outside the moon, just like, you know, a little bit, and go across. This is the top of your island. And then down here, I'm just going to not start at the very beginning, but we're going to go down. And we're just going to make some little shapes. And all we're creating is this part down here. And it does not matter what shape it is that you put at the bottom. Just kind of bringing it down. And this is just a guideline, because you can change this as many times as you want until you get the look that you want. And then you can kind of fill it in if your paint is dry and lets you. We'll see what mine does. I can always go over it again, I guess, if I need. If you're not comfortable using black on your brush and you just want to draw it out first, you can also use a pencil. I just have a habit of using my paints with stuff like this. I don't like that, so see, I'm going to bring it down. The only thing you don't want is you don't want these all to be exactly the same level. I'll even put little ones up here. Same thing for over here, a little one there. All right, so as soon as you get that going in there, you're going to want the smallest brush, which is what I'm using right now, and that would be like a number 1. Okay, and then we're going to just barely put any paint on there. Just clean off the brush a little bit on the edge of your palette, and we're going to draw some lines. Like, we're just going to squiggly. You don't want them totally straight. And I put like 3 down, and you don't want them to be exactly the same spot either. You could do even little ones. Me, I start at the bottom of my islands, and I just do little wigglies. A little forewarning, I have a bad habit of making noises like boop boop. That's just me. And the one thing I want to be is myself on here as much as possible. I mean, I guess that's what I like about people. I like them when they're down to earth. I like a little personality. Alright, and I kind of just play with it until I get it where I like it. I also will hit up in here, making little sporadic little spots. And these are just the roots of your trees. They don't have to be the same. There we go. So then we got the bottom of our island. And we're going to start on the tree. So then I start my root just by drawing a line where I want my tree, which is on to the left of the moon. So I'm just going to draw the basic little square shape right here, just till I get it where I want it. Of course, mine's, wet still, so it's going to take a little bit. Alright. So then when I hit the bottom, I just kind of curve it to the island so it blends, just as if the roots were growing on the top of the island. And then also at the bottom, very lightly touching it, I'm just going to add some grass. There we go. Okay. So then we're going to do the top part. And this is where I kind of look at the shape of my moon. And I take the one brush that I told you that I do this with. And any old brush will work. It does not have to be a flat brush. But the more you spread one of these out, the better and the bigger and the wider of your bush. So then I barely tap it into the black. Hopefully this works on my paint that's still a touch wet. And I tap it a little bit on yours. You'll see I like to tap a lot. And I'll start just in the center. And I work my way over back and forth until I shape the bush that I want. Let's add a little bit more black to that. And I don't make it too big because this is kind of a small rock. And if you make a mistake, it's very easy to go over it with your other colors to cover it up, but make sure that your black is dry. As you can see, all my shapes are different. I don't want them to be the same. And you could think of the 3-2-3-2 sort of concept here at the bottom. 3, 2, just kind of, you don't want them above each other, they'll blend in. And then I do the top. And then I might come out to the side a little bit. I mean, this isn't something you want to be exact. So just kind of eyeball where you want your tree. Basically what I do. And I might even put a little one here. And that looks pretty good to me. We'll see. Let's add a little one here. Just a little bit there. And I just kind of keep tapping until it gets to where I like it as a shape of a tree. And then after I do that, I will add the lines and roots. Basically, we'll add the parts of the tree. Let's get going on that. So back down to your number 1 brush. And we're going to start down here. And we're just going to bring it down to that root. And roots are not the same either. So different thicknesses, if I can talk correctly. And then I'm just going to come up here and maybe over here. This one might come from here. And we're just doing a root system. If you feel uncomfortable, you could just do the lines to each one like this. That's the start. I might even have some coming out here. Nothing's perfect. All right. So then I'll kind of look at my tree and be like, do I like it? And if I don't, then, you know, of course I'm going to play with it. I like to take roots. So, kind of stick them everywhere. A little bit of here, a little bit of there. Okay. So we are going to play with this a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. All I'm doing is making the bushes bigger to match kind of the size of this rock. You can make them wider. You just don't want them touching too much because this is basically a shadow tree. Okay. Let's add a little there. Yeah, I like that, I guess. Okay, sometimes I'll purposely make little shapes come out. There we go. Okay, so after you got your tree where you like it visually, and that's just playing with your basic shapes. Start small, go bigger. Okay, so then you're going to go back to your number 1 again, and you're going to dip it into your black. And we're basically going to do a V shape. And I start up at the top, and you're going to bring it down with a little curve and back up with a little curve. We're basically creating birds. All right. And I never just line them up. Sporadically do it. Really doesn't matter. You want a kind of a little shape to it, but I just kind of wherever. So I usually do an odd amount. Sometimes I'll do more. And then I might have one over here, right at the top of my rock. I'm doing this upside down. There we go. And that's it. If you want your bird a little thicker, you can. Sometimes I'll do it thicker on one side. And if you can do them far away, make them smaller. The closer, the bigger. The further away, the smaller. And that is it. not hard, and everyone's going to be different, but it's also fun to play with. That's it. Still wet, little resin, make it look beautiful, and enjoy and take your time and be patient. And if you have questions, please ask. I am here. Just holler at me. Hey, I need to know. But yeah, have a good one. I hope everybody enjoyed this little bit of a lesson. It was a new experience for me too, because I have not painted this on a rock. So canvas is a whole different deal. And someday we'll be hitting that up. And just let me know what you want created. Maybe I can come up with some kind of creation and place it on a rock or a canvas. Or pretty soon I'm going to be doing some painting on a purse. I bought an old purse and I'm going to recreate it and recycle it. And I'm also going to paint on a shirt. Got some pants. I'm ready to go.